Hi, my name is Laura Morales with Energize Your Outlook. No, it's not Microsoft Outlook, it's your outlook. That means your perspective, how you see things, how you view things. Anyway, I am a speaker, a trainer, and a communications coach. And I help busy professionals learn how to come out of their shells so they can thrive in their careers and really learn how to present themselves with confidence wherever they go. I do this by helping them learn how to connect with themselves first, and then it helps them to connect with other people so they can go and network. Well, today I am so excited because I'm with Danielle Villasana. She is a recent University of Texas graduate, and we're going to be talking all about networking. Thank you.
So, Laura, something that I always struggle with is how can I get people to remember me as well as I remember them?
That's a great question. So one of the best ways to have people remember you is to show interest in them. A lot of times people go to a networking event or a party or something, and yes, they want to be known, but it's better if they start to actually learn about other people. And by asking a lot of questions about the other person, who doesn't like talking about themselves? So if you give them an opportunity and you were to ask me a lot of questions at an event, or if you just meet me, after I talk to you, I'm going to think, gosh, that girl was really great. Well, I'll remember you because you asked a lot of questions about me. You showed interest in me.
Okay, so for example, what could be some questions that I would ask somebody?
Okay, you could say, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Not just where you're from, but what do you like to do when you're not working? What do you like to do for fun? What is it that brought you to this event? How are you connected to the party hosts? What kinds of things interest you in terms of your hobbies?
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay, great.
Let's do an example. So Danielle, I'm going to ask you, tell me about your life in Peru now. What is that like?
Well, I really enjoy living in Peru. It's been very exciting. I love the culture. I love the food. Every day is different because it's so different than living, in Texas. And I've made so many friends. So yeah, I actually really, really love it.
So one way for me to demonstrate that I've listened is to repeat some of that back to you. So gosh, Danielle, what I heard you say is that you really are thrilled to be living in Peru. It's a new culture, it's exciting, you have new friends, you're just in a whole new place and you're really absorbing, you're taking everything in. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. Wow. You were listening.
And so it's if I can repeat back to you what you've said and try to paraphrase it a little bit and use some of the same modeling behavior, then hopefully then I'm accurate.
Okay. So, but how does that help also remember? Because I always have that issue where I'm talking with someone, but then maybe I see them again in the future and I forget.
Oh my God, that's such a wonderful question because it's so common for what you described to happen to most everyone. So one way to really help it really kind of become ingrained in your head is that after you've heard them speak, repeat it to them, paraphrase it. If that's correct, then after you leave that engagement, when you either leave that event or you just are in your car, write down some of the people that you really had a good connection with. Write something down about them. So in my case, I would say, wow, I met this fabulous young woman. She graduated from UT and now she's living in Peru. She is really thrilled at her new life. She likes the culture. She's open to the foods and the new people. And I would write that down. I'd put the name, your name, the date that I met you, and some of what you told me. So that if I know that you might be at another event down the road, well, before I go, I'm going to look at all my notes. And then I can say, Danielle, how's it going in Peru? What's going on? What kinds of things have you done?
Okay. So all of that helps me with actually meeting people and talking to them. But once I make these connections, how do I stay in touch with them?
Oh, well, now it is easier than ever, thank God, because back in my day when I was a much younger woman, it was much harder. And pretty much all we had was letter writing and the telephone. Now we have online communications through social media. Certainly from a professional standpoint, it's very easy to connect with people via LinkedIn. That is the number one online professional networking tool. And the other way is certainly through Facebook. So if you want to make it a little more social, you could certainly go that route. And the nice thing is, by connecting with someone, and depending on how you set up your settings on either type of tool, then you can see the updates. You can send them little messages. Maybe they post a picture somewhere. I personally love to watch and look at the pictures. So if I see that somebody I met took a really fabulous trip somewhere, I'm watching it and getting to live my life through them vicariously. Another one is through Twitter. Twitter is so great because you can immediately become a follower. And so as long as you've got a Twitter account or even Instagram or Google+, now it's just much easier.
Okay, cool. Well, then I should get some LinkedIn account then.
It's a great tool. And then the other thing that people really forget, it goes back to some very basic communications tools, is really the telephone. We so don't use the telephone at all anymore. And so you live in Peru now, and fortunately I can connect with you, or I can communicate with you via Facebook. But for people that are domestic, or where it's really not costly, let's say for cross-country communications, pick up the phone and just tell somebody, hey, I was thinking about you. I just heard about somebody doing a great trip somewhere, and I thought you'd be interested since you like to travel to different places around the world. So it's really keeping the other person in mind at all times, and then pick up the phone, send them a note, send them a text.
So picking up the phone, how do you, I mean, in a way, social media, there's the barrier of the computer kind of to help you with the fear of maybe making that first step.
Yes.
And making that connection. But with the telephone, it's much more... I mean, I would be so scared to pick up the phone and call somebody just out of the blue. So what would you suggest?
Well, I think from a human nature standpoint, everybody likes to be remembered. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want to feel that, wow, they remembered me, they thought of me. And so it might be a little scary because we don't use it as much as we used to. But imagine if maybe you're not at your desk, or maybe you are, but imagine the phone rings and some woman that you met at an event 10 months ago saw something that reminded her of you, and they said, Danielle, hi, this is Laura Morales. We met, almost a year ago, but I so enjoyed talking to you and really learning a little bit about you. I just saw something that reminded me of you, and I wanted to connect. Is this a bad time? Maybe you get the voicemail. So you could just leave a quick little message. And it's just a way to keep the other person top of mind. Might be a little scary, but wow, you can do a whole lot with just a little effort.
Okay. So that would be how the notes would really come in handy then.
Yes, it really does come in handy, and really going back to some of the basics. If I had a nice conversation with you, even if it's for just a couple of minutes, but there's something I learned where I got to see you kind of light up because it's something of interest. Not that work isn't interesting, but if I were to say to you, tell me about you, what are the fun things you like to do, and you shared with me something really great that you like to do for fun, well, I need to make sure I'm listening and kind of repeat it, but then go write it down, because when I am watching, I'm really observing, I'm focusing on you and not on anything else or anybody else, then I really can listen, and I can watch for signs of something that makes you pop, that gets you excited, or something that maybe is really dull to you. So I would stay away from that, but I would totally write down what it was, when I met you, where were we, because then it helps me to recall, and then each time that I write it down or I look at it, it's one more time that it's a repetitive action in my brain.
Okay. So one more thing I also struggle with trying to understand is, how do successful people network? I mean, I just recently graduated. I don't really feel successful. How do how do successful people network and seemingly do it so well?
Ah, wow. Just to even hear you say that, that's really amazing to me, because you're such an open person. And what I would tell you is that really successful people and those that network well are the ones that are always interested in really learning, in realizing that it's not about them, it's really about whoever the other person is that they're talking with. Because when you approach life, or you approach an event with an open mind and an open heart, that means you're there just to take it in. And it's not about really imposing yourself on somebody, but those successful people, they really listen well, they remember, and they try to make it meaningful for you. And if you look at the various people through history who have been very successful, let's say in business or in charitable events or philanthropy, so often it's because they've paid attention to the other people that are around them. They're trying to constantly learn.
Okay, so with that, sometimes I struggle with getting past the 30-second elevator speech at a networking event. How do I move
Beyond that? Well, that's also a really great question. And this is where it really depends a lot on how much attention you're paying. I have a friend named Bede Ramsharan who says, you have to have your what's it. And you might think, well, what's a what's it? A what's it is something either about something you've said or something that you might be wearing that somebody would say, well, what's that? And so if it was something you said, I might then ask you, well, what was that about? Or I've just met somebody recently and I understand you're involved in this type of organization. What's that all about? Can you tell me about it? Or it might be that, so you've already done your introduction and then you think, God, what do I say? What do I say? I don't want to look so stupid and awkward. So you think, well, tell me about that. What was it? Or maybe my friend Bede always wears a little pin on his lapel. And people are always saying, what is that? So that's why it's become his what's it. So you have to think beyond, but be relaxed. Because if you feel that you have to say something, then you're going to look very tense, you're going to look uncomfortable. So just relax. You might even say something such as, gosh, sometimes I approach these networking events and I feel so strange. I don't know what to say after we introduce ourselves.
Definitely.
Because most people feel like that. And it does take some focus, but it's really just relaxing. And then be curious. Be so curious. Ask. Not be nosy, but be curious. Because it's also one thing to be really authentic and be yourself, whoever that is, versus trying to be someone else and be put on or trying to be on when you should just be you.
So, okay, well, so that all makes sense and seems rather simple, but once I have made the first step of saying hello, I've given the elevator speech, I've had a relaxing conversation, I've given them my business card.
Yes.
What's next? How do I build on that connection? How do I expand my network? How do I take those steps further?
Excellent. Well, a couple of ways. So again, after you've had that conversation, you want to exit gracefully because you want to meet some other people. And it's not the quantity, it's really the quality of your connections. So you would, thank that person for, it was great to meet you. I look to follow up with you, hope to follow up with you. And if I've asked you in what way you'd prefer, since you're one of these young people, maybe you want me to just text you. Maybe that would be the easiest way, or maybe it would be sending you an email or calling you on the phone. I would then exit with you, and then I would look to maybe introduce myself to somebody else that I've wanted to meet, or that might just be standing there by themselves, and I thought it would be nice to go and introduce myself and find out about them. So now we play that we've left the event. So now I go back, I enter your information on the back of the card, and then maybe I put it in my database so that I have a history about you and each time that I've seen you. And so now, I mean, it would be great if within 24 hours this would happen, but within, 1 to 2 days, it would be great to send you a note, a communication of some kind. Maybe it's that I said, hey, well, let's connect on Facebook or let's connect on LinkedIn. Then I would take the action and initiate an invitation or a request to connect. So that would be one way. And let's say that you're that person that I really would like to stay in touch with, well, then maybe I would try to set up a time to get together with you. If you live in the area, we could meet for coffee, or if you're long distance, well, how about if in a month we schedule a time and have a 30-minute call, and then we can talk about the other connections we made at the event. And then what I try to do is put a little tickler or a reminder so that on my calendar, maybe 3 months from now, I want to just drop them a line to say hello. And if something happens before that time that I think would be of interest to them, well then I send them a note, I send them a link to something, maybe it's an article that I saw, and that way you continue to build on that relationship so that it doesn't become stale.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for all these tips. I'm ready and excited to put them into action.
Well, I'm happy if I can help you, because I think networking is all about relationships. It's not about trying to be something that you're not. It's just about connecting with people and building on that, because you can do it at work, outside, and just for life. It's the best way to stay in touch.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.